How do I know it's you? How do I know it's you when there's 1,000 voices talking, 1,000 prophets prophesying, 1,000 pathways that I'm walking? Everybody's got an answer. Everybody's got a clue. Everybody says they're here in heaven, but how do I know it's you? How do I know the difference between ambition and commission, between emotion and devotion, intuition and conviction, between the noise of my desire and the fire of your youth? God, if everybody's speaking, how do I know it's you? Because I've sat in a room with tears staining every page, feeling trapped inside a maze while people preached from every stage. One said go, one said stay, one said wait, one said move, one said God told me this, one said God showed me proof. Meanwhile, I'm just on my knees with a broken heart that's bruised, trying to separate the counterfeit from what is actually you. Trying to hear a whisper while the world becomes a boom, asking over and over, Lord, how do I know it's you? Then it hit me. Your voice never sounded like panic when panic was all I could feel. Your voice never sounded demanding, manipulative, forcing my will. Your voice never sounded like pride dressed in spiritual skill. Your voice never contradicted the word you already fulfilled. See, fear screams, but faith breathes. Lies push, but truth leads. Flesh rushes, but wisdom teaches patience before it proceeds. And suddenly I could see what my desperation had missed. God's voice may be powerful, but it's never been counterfeit. Because the enemy loves confusion, creating illusions and spiritual delusions. He'll mix just enough truth with a lie to make the poison seem useful. He'll tell you, move faster. God says, trust me. He'll say, make it happen. God says, just seek me. He'll say, build your kingdom. God says, come and meet me. The one voice feeds your ego. The other one makes you holy. And I learned that sheep don't recognize a shepherd because they attended a class. They recognize him because day after day they stay close to his path. Because relationship creates familiarity that lasts. Because time with the shepherd reveals who's wearing a mask. So maybe the secret isn't chasing signs till you're mentally drained. Maybe the secret is seeking his face till his nature remains. Maybe the secret is knowing him deeply enough to explain why every counterfeit voice starts sounding painfully strange. Because when I know him, I know his heart. When I know his heart, I know his ways. When I know his ways, I know his character. And when I know his character, I can recognize his fingerprints even on the darkest of days. When nobody's shouting and clouding my view. When opinions are colliding and dividing what's true. When the road gets foggy and I don't know what to do, I can measure every voice against the nature of you. Your voice doesn't condemn me, then leave me drowning in my shame. Your voice reveals what needs correcting, then lovingly calls me by name. Other voices magnify my failures and leave me feeling blamed, but your voice points me towards redemption because your purpose isn't pain. Your voice may challenge me and change me, but it never plays manipulative games. It doesn't operate through fear, intimidation, pressure, or disgrace. It leads me with conviction, wisdom, mercy, and grace. And even when the storm is raging and everything around me shakes, your voice carries a peace this broken world could never take. Not because the battle vanished, not because the winds have ever changed, but because peace was never found in perfect circumstances anyway. Real peace is hearing the shepherd in the middle of the rain and knowing if he's speaking, I can trust him through the pain. So now when confusion comes knocking and fear starts talking, when doubt starts stalking and my thoughts start boxing, when the noise gets loud and the pressure feels shocking, I stop running to everybody else for confirmation shopping. I open my Bible, I bow my head, I remember the words that Jesus has said, because the closer I get to the shepherd, the less I'm misled. The more his voice fills my spirit, the less I need everybody else's instead. So if you're asking how to know his voice today, stop chasing every wind that blows and carries you away. Stop running after every person claiming they can show you the way. The shepherd is still speaking just like he always has been every single day. Draw near, stay still, learn his heart, know his will. Because one day you'll hear a voice in the middle of the storm, and while everybody else is panicking, you'll recognize the form. Not because the voice was louder than the chaos around you, but because you walked with him long enough to know that voice is the one that has always carried you through.